Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Shoop Sports here. I am your host. You already know who it is. We're going back at you with some NFL picks, and I'm here to tell you right now that this slate this week sucks. The prices are very good. A lot of the big favorites this week are on the road, which makes it really difficult to pick some of these teams. So I have 6 picks out of the 16 games that I like this week, and 5 of them are underdogs. So get ready. So let's start off with my favorite pick of the week, which is actually the one underdog that I am not choosing, and that would be the Chiefs. At home, -6.5, -7, give or take. I don't think it matters because there's one important statistic that we are forgetting, or that we need to consider. Andy Reid, awful loss. Patrick Mahomes, awful loss. Almost unbeatable in their careers. And we also forget that Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose in September. Now, I like the Chargers. I think they're one of my top 10 teams. But you got to think that after what happened to Kansas City last week on primetime, that they're not going to want to just air it out versus this team. And it's a heavy spread for a reason. But if you can get 6.5 as opposed to 7, I like it way, way better. The Chargers could also be a little down after the refs utterly screwed them over last week. But I'm siding with Andy Reid off a bye. No matter what the spread is, I think the Chiefs are just going to go off this game. Maybe they've taken a little bit to get into the season, but no, not this time. So there we go. So here we go. I like 5 underdogs this week, and one of them is a surprise. It's the Dolphins +4.5 at Las Vegas. I say surprise because all of a sudden the Raiders are everyone's favorite story. The Raiders, where did they come from? Derek Carr is finally proving himself. And what? They're only 4.5-point favorites over the Dolphins, with Tua injured, and this team just lost 35-0 to the Bills. Why on earth would I pick Miami? We need to take a closer look at the Raiders' 2-0 record. The Raiders have beaten a very, very banged-up Ravens team at home on Monday Night Football into overtime. And then you take the next week versus the Steelers. And the Steelers lost so many defensive starters within that game, including their best player, TJ Watt. And the Steelers can't block a damn thing. Ben Roethlisberger looks old. The Steelers don't even look that good. So these are 2 popular teams that are very banged up. And the wins, while they're impressive, the Raiders aren't. I don't believe in the Raiders that much. And the Dolphins, sure, they don't have Tua, but that game last week against the Bills, it was closer than people think. The Dolphins just constantly shot themselves in the foot and went down very early, and their offensive line couldn't block a damn thing. But 4.5 points on the road. And what concerns me about the Raiders is that 80% of the public is on the Raiders. They're a big-time public favorite, and they're still only getting 4.5 points. Something is up here. And good teams, well-coached teams like the Dolphins, play harder when their backup quarterback is in. So I'm going with the Dolphins +4.5, and that's my favorite underdog pick of the week. I got a few more, too, that I like. So I talked about how the 35-0 loss wasn't as big of a deal as it seemed. I mean that for the Bills, too, because I like the Bills as one of my favorite teams in the NFL, but Josh Allen has not looked like himself this year. And now they are going to be 7.5-point home favorites against Washington. With the way Allen's been playing, and I'm expecting Washington's defense to rebound this game. I feel like last game was a Thursday night game, and the players are tired. They're going to be well rested now. And the talent on that defensive line just doesn't disappear like that. I saw them play well with Taylor Heineke, and I think they can keep up on the scoreboard, even though they're a little bit mismatched on offense. I still think that with the way that Josh Allen has not been living up to himself. 7.5 is a lot of points to lay on a team that made the playoffs last year and kept a lot of its roster. So 7.5, I'm taking those points on the road. And this next pick is one that I actually had. So I had Arizona minus 7.5 against the Jaguars. And I thought to myself, wait, there's no way that Jacksonville's offense can keep up with Arizona's offense. And there's no way they're going to be able to protect that monstrous defensive line of Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. But something occurred to me. So when making these picks, because like I said, didn't like much of this slate, I'm thinking who could possibly be looking ahead to future weeks. And the Cardinals, as much as I like them, more than any team, they could be the ones that are looking ahead the most. So after they play Jacksonville on the road, again, lowly 0-2 Jacksonville has lost 17 games in a row. They play at LA, the Rams, home versus San Francisco, and at Cleveland. Those are 3 huge games against playoff teams that will be playoff teams this year. You think the Cardinals aren't thinking about that upcoming schedule? You think they're not a little confident after being 2-0? They're not going to take the Jaguars seriously. And this is a kind of a bold pick because betting on a team that's lost 16 games in a row, it seems like a losing proposition. But again, we're not picking money line, we're picking spread. And even if Arizona has a handy double-digit lead over them late in the game, we still have opportunity for a backdoor cover. So that's why I really like Jacksonville in this game. Despite the mismatches, I simply think Arizona, there's a good chance they just might not show up mentally for this game. I want to take you back to last year real quick as an example. So 2022 Jaguars schedule. As we all know, the Jaguars went 1-15. But there was a game in particular. Yeah, so when they were on the road versus the Packers and they lost 24-20, they had Jake Luton starting. Obviously not Trevor Lawrence, Jake Luton. And they came awfully close to winning that game at the end. And the Packers were obviously not paying attention to the Jaguars. Who's to say something similar can't happen here? I'm sending Jaguars plus 7.5. Okay, so I got a couple more picks. And these are 2 teams that, again, I think I'd put like a unit or 2 on these 2 teams. And by the way, I'm betting on all these games. When I make these picks, these aren't just throwing them out there. I am backing up my picks. So each and every week. And last week was a disaster. I don't want to talk about it. But there was a lot of bullshit that happened. But we already know that. Not to get off topic, 2 more picks that I like. I like the Bengals plus 3 on the road versus Pittsburgh. And simply because Pittsburgh's injuries they're just piling up. You look at quarterback. Big Ben's got a pec injury. Deontay Johnson at receiver got hurt. Their O-line, they're not even hurt. They're just terrible. And then their entire defense got hurt last week. Who knows who's going to be up for it? And you look at the Bengals, who could be going this game with high motivation against the division rival. And they'll really... I know that the Bengals for sure will come out of this game, and I don't know how good or how healthy Ben Roethlisberger will be. I'm taking Bengals plus 3, and maybe even money line. And I like the Bears plus 7 because I like Justin Fields. Not just like him, but like I love him. Okay, what I'm trying to say is Cleveland is a 7-point home favorite against the Bears. And the Bears' defense hasn't been that bad. And the Browns, as a team, have kind of underwhelmed. And they were kind of close to losing that game against the Texans. Considering the first half, if Tyrod Taylor didn't get hurt, we might be saying a different story. I think Justin Fields comes out in his debut electric. He'll be playing in Ohio, where he was beloved. So that's who I like this week. So there you go. And 10 minutes or less, I told you my 6 favorite picks. A couple others I consider. I considered San Francisco over Green Bay because San Francisco loves to run the ball and Green Bay cannot stop the run. But I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to continue his revenge tour or if the 49ers are even healthy enough at running back to take advantage of that. So staying away from there. And I was thinking about Philly, who plays at Kansas City next week, or at home versus Kansas City next week, possibly looking over the Cowboys, but the Cowboys are a division rival. It's a Monday night game. They're not going to look over that. And Tennessee is a 5-point favorite against Indy, and Indy's going to have their backup quarterback in. So I was going to apply the same rule with the backup quarterbacks I did with the Dolphins, but I really think Jacob Eason is terrible. And yes, Tennessee's defense sucks, but if Eason can't find his receivers and he's just throwing picks, then what's the big difference? All right, so that's it for my picks. Survivor also is difficult this week, but my 3 favorite picks are Denver, who's a big favorite, 10.5 points against the Jets. There's a good chance they cover that number too, but Denver has been a popular pick. Their first 2 games have been pretty easy, but this might be their easiest at home with their ferocious pass rush against the Jets' decrepit offensive line. You can take the Broncos and feel pretty safe about it. I also like Arizona also. I don't think they lose against the Jaguars per se. I think Jaguars cover, but I don't see how Kyler doesn't destroy his defense. Even if it's a high-scoring game, I think the Cardinals are a pretty good pick. The Ravens over the Lions too. The one thing I will say is the Ravens just came off an emotional victory, so maybe they'll be a little flat against Detroit, but they're a way better team. They should win. A trap game that I'm looking at. So I already told you guys about Buffalo and how I think that their spread's inflated over Washington. So I'm going to pick the same for Survivor. Washington, they're a well-coached team, and I think their defense on extra days of rest could bug Josh Allen a bit. So, and don't take the Bills anyway because they play Houston at home next week. They're a 16.5 opening favorite. I would absolutely save the Bills if you haven't used them already. And last but not least, I got to talk about the Carolina-Houston game tonight. Well, should Carolina beat Davis Mills on the road? Yes, absolutely. Would I take them as a Survivor pick? I don't see so because I think weird stuff can happen in Thursday night games. Even though Carolina is definitely the better team, I don't trust in them enough, especially an 8-point favorite on the road. I definitely wouldn't take that spread. But if you're on the all aboard fade Houston train, by all means take them. But I'm just warning you guys, there's a lot of trap matchups this week. So if you have Denver, I would highly suggest using them. And if you're not confident in the road favorites, go ahead and take the Chiefs. They're coming off a loss. I don't see them losing. Obviously, we like to save the Chiefs, but this could be a spot where they're worth using. Because I think there's going to be at least one big upset this week, maybe even 2. And you'll be happy you took the Chiefs and eliminate all those people. All right, that's the video. Those are my picks for this week. We'll be back on Saturday with another daily fantasy video. And until then, Shoop Sports, signing out.